A haunted look in the eyes of Amal Hussain, an emaciated 7-year-old lying silently on a hospital bed in southern Yemen seem to sum up the dire circumstances of her war-torn country. A searing portrait of the starving girl published in the New York Times last week drew an impassioned response from readers. They expressed heartbreak. They offered money for her family. They wrote to ask. They wrote in to ask if she was getting better. On Thursday, Amal's family said she had died at a ragged refugee camp 4 miles from the hospital. My heart is broken, said her mother, Mariam Ali, who wept during a phone interview. Amal was always smiling. Now I'm worried for my other children. The grievous human cost of the Saudi-led war in Yemen has jumped to the top of the global agenda as the outcry over the killing of the Saudi descent Jamal Khashoggi prompts Western leaders to re-examine their support for the war. Recently, the United States and Britain, Saudi Arabia's biggest arms suppliers, called for a ceasefire in Yemen. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis said it would take effect within 30 days. We have got to move toward a peace effort here, and we can't say we are going to do it sometime in the future. Mr. Mattis said on Tuesday. Riveting images of malnourished Yemenis like Amal, one of 1.8 severely malnourished children in Yemen, have put a human face to fears that a catastrophic man-made famine could engulf the country in the coming months. The United Nations warns that the number of Yemenis relying on emergency rations, 8 million, could soon rise to 14 million. That's almost half Yemen's population. Aid workers and now political leaders are calling for a cessation of hostilities as well as emergency measures to revive the battered economy of Yemen, where soaring food prices have pushed millions to the brink. The rest of this article is other stuff, but this child's picture had a lot of people who read the New York Times last week go, hey, what the hell, what's going on? And it fits a narrative that I was pushing, which is that a lot of people are not heartless, evil monsters. They are not privy to what's going on over there. And when you rattle off, oh, this many people have died, it's easy to just hear that number and be unfazed by it. But when you actually see the bodies and pictures of the conditions of people that are alive or have been alive before becoming deceased, all shoring up and showing up, it causes you and your humanity to draw a problem with our conduct over there. And what's all the more disturbing is that when you have plenty of people who effectively say, hey, look, I don't care about being pissed at Obama or Trump or any of the senators that voted to keep this going back in March when a bill to end our support for that conflict was going on. I don't care to vote them out. They're part of my team. I'm a Democrat. I'm a Republican. Vote blue to save America. Keep whatever state red. All that nonsense. And it's all designed around keeping a certain group in power that does not care about the people who have this uniform support for it. But thankfully, that's not a majority of people because most people in the U.S. are independents. And they're able to look at these kind of things and say, hey, look, I don't care what party you're from. I'm done with this particular policy. And, when I read this story and how this one picture had, gotten to so many people, I started feeling a reminder of what had pissed me off so much about the Khashoggi thing, because this one journalist gets killed and all these people lose their minds while thousands have died from airstrikes in Yemen, and not a single word. No one is, freaking out or losing their, we covered the story about Jennifer, for example, on Twitter, who was constantly talking about it. But aside from that, how many people are just recurringly speaking about this? How many are saying, you know what, I'm not going to support a political party that has 4 or 5 of its senators, which is what happened with the Democrats, vote to keep this going, and they don't get punished, they don't get censored, they don't have any reprisal, nothing. And really, when you let your leaders get away with acts of murder or being complicit in acts of murder, it's more telling of you than them, because while they are an individual in a position of power abusing their power, they are still one person. We're talking about loads and loads of individuals saying, hey, that was that one thing that happened. Get over that. I had a person who told me, don't get mad at Cruz, for example, for his support of the Yemen genocide, because he's just one person. And I didn't respond to that comment, but I made the example later on that if I were part of a 50-man home invasion of your house, and you caught all of us, and I went up to and said, "Don't put me behind bars. I was just 2% of the group that was involved in trying to rob you." Would you now feel sorry for me? Would you say, "Wow, we shouldn't get upset with him. We should just, this wasn't his fault. We can't blame this one man for what he and these other people all decided to authorize or have go on"? No, you wouldn't. And so that idea, that concept is not hard to understand. Um, and so ultimately, the only way we're ever going to get a change to this, and we may possibly be getting close to it, but you read the United Nations thing. 14 million people are close to now suffering from the effects of this genocide in the coming months. They've raised food prices over there. So you have to pay ridiculous prices just to get something to eat. All because the Saudis are pissed that their little boyfriend government didn't get to stay in power after getting toppled by the Houthi rebels. I just want people to be pissed. Not at Trump, not at Obama, but just at this policy, and in particular at the individual members of Congress that have allowed it to go on. So for example, let's say a president, whoever it is, decides to authorize this. Why can't we get a 2/3 of the Senate to block that or override a veto if it continues? Because most of the senators are heartless pricks that are there to get money for themselves. They don't care about you. And most people, again, know that. That's why Congress has a 20% approval rating, if not lower. We're talking about record low popularity, and it's that way for a reason. People do not like having a chamber of these millionaires and in some cases billionaires who get to enact policies that don't affect them, or if they do, not positively. And this is no different. What does the U.S. gain from selling the arms to the Saudis? Did we become a country where you can now afford to put everybody through school? Higher education rather? Did the gas prices decrease? What has anyone benefited from this? Were jobs that actually paid more than minimum wage and had decent health care coverage formed through that money? No. It was shoved into the pockets of defense contractors who made the weapons that were used, the illegal cluster bombs that the U.S. sells, and then the politicians who either voted to keep it going or, in Trump's case, signed it to keep it going, got paid. It was the same thing with Obama. And again, this is not a partisan attack on any of these people. It's just me saying there is a system at play that if enough people wanted to rebuke it, it would be rebuked. And not enough people give a damn to want to get sick and tired of having a genocide be perpetuated for 3 years, going on 4. So I'm disgusted by this. Her story is sad, but it's one person out of that. Same thing with Khashoggi. They're both unfortunate, disgusting circumstances that are such a small remnant of all of the atrocities that have been committed in those two countries, both in Saudi Arabia and in Yemen by Saudi Arabia. So thank you for watching, and just think about if it's worth it to do this, what way this benefits you. So thank you.